All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to our younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners, whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, just dealing with, the water, Yahweh Bashim Al Shai for the light, the water for the light to see, and we have so much, to be grateful for in this truth, because we know we have the things that matter. All right, and you look at our people, right now, November 2025, okay, and you look how far off, our people are, how lost they are, they refuse to repent, okay, and they have no clue what's going on around them, all right, because the Lord has still has them smitten, with blindness, and unless the Lord, unless it's predestined, for, someone to wake up, all right, there's nothing that can be done, and this is why we have to be extremely grateful, just to be in the know, and being in the know, all right, we're being instructed on how to please our power, and if you're in the dark, you don't even know where to begin, if I give you, a map, okay, and it's in the middle of the day, okay, and I give you a map, to find something, the map has all the landmarks, okay, in that area, it has the distance, okay, it has the compass of north, west, east, and south, okay, well, you have the instructions to find what you need, you know where to begin, all right, you have markers, giving you an indicator of where you at on the map, how close you are to your mark. Okay, and that's how it's been, with this truth. We've been given a map with all the landmarks, all right, to guide us, okay, back to the favor of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Okay, but you look at our people that's in the dark, if you just put someone in the dark room, okay, and tell them to find the mark, they just hear a voice to say find the mark. They don't even know where to begin. They don't even know where they are. Okay, it's going to be impossible. Okay, especially if the mark is not even in their room, okay, or in their area, man. And that's the position that majority of our people in, all right, and that's part of the curses. So let's get that, let's get that first. Okay, let's get that in the book of Deuteronomy 28 and 28, all right, which these are curses, all right, which will be tokens and signs of who we are as a people, okay. Deuteronomy 28 and 28, it said, the Lord shall smite thee with madness, all right, and blindness and astonishment of heart, okay. So it was a curse for our people to be smitten with blindness, man. There's no doubt, all right, when you look at our people and how they're moving, there's no one that's less informed, all right, than our people. There's no one that's more in the dark, okay, of what's really going on, what truth is, who they are, and why they, there's no one that's less informed than our people, is more blind than our people, okay, to the point to where they cry out to their enemy for relief. They reject their power and cry to the enemy for relief, man, showing you that's blindness. They've been smitten with blindness, man, okay. Their whole objective in life is to destroy one another. That's a blind man, all right, because here it is, okay, as the so-called white man, Esau Edom, constantly shows our people, okay, his hatred towards them, whether it's subtle, whether it's blatant, whether it's covert or overt, he's constantly showing his hatred towards them, and they still trust this man with their life, okay, showing you that's blindness, man, okay. Christianity, you see, no matter how off Christianity is proven to be, our people trust their life with it, man. Blindness, okay, and many other things, okay. But reading on verse 29, it says, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Okay, and it says, and thou shalt grope at noonday, because noonday is when everything is the brightest. Okay, and you look at, like I said, all this information, all this truth that's flooding, it's convenient, it's free. You can learn the truth for absolutely nothing. Okay, if you have a cell phone with internet access, okay, you can learn the truth. Okay, so truth is saturating the earth. So it's noonday, which the truth is shining the brightest right now, man. As far as the quality of videos and the quantity of videos that's coming out. So you have, hold on, wait till you go by every time. So noonday, representing, when the sun is in the highest peak, when it's the brightest, okay, which like this truth, because the moon and sun, is also symbolic of wisdom and understanding. So here it is, this understanding, it is at its peak. The scripture said, he will give us pastors after his own heart that will feed us with what knowledge and understanding. So it's the noonday, and our people are still groping. Okay, our people are still groping with black culture, Christianity, feminism, okay, drill culture, YNs, whatever our people are into, the ancestors, okay, witchcraft, because our people are all over the place, okay, but that's them groping. They're just reaching for something to cleave to, when you're groping, you're reaching, you're trying to feel your way, because you can't see, so people that were blind, they will grope, okay, and that's the state of our people, man, okay, and it says, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Okay? Because outside of Yahushua, there's nobody, all right, that's going to deliver our people out of their situation. And that's why our people only get worse, man. Our people that don't turn to Yahushua, they only get worse. But the water, Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah, for Yahushua the deliverer, man. And it begins with him delivering our minds out of darkness, man. So we can see, so we can begin to operate in a way that's pleasing to our power. So let's go here. Let's get this in. All right, so let's go here to the book of 1 Peter chapter 2. All right, in verse 9. It says, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, and remember, this is being written, okay, to Israelite foreigners, the strangers, okay, that was scattered abroad. So the Apostle Peter is writing this letter, and he's telling them that what they're a royal priesthood, a holy nation, okay, a peculiar people. Now, who else was this told to let you know that this is speaking about Israelites, man? Second is this is Exodus chapter 19 and verse 4. It says, you have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I buried you on eagle's wings and brought you up, all right, and brought you unto myself. And that was the Exodus, all right, out of Egypt. Okay, it says, now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you will be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. Okay, a peculiar treasure. So there's only one nation that he calls his peculiar treasure, and that's Israel. Okay, and read verse 6, it says, and ye shall be a kingdom of priests and holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And that was only promised to be to one people, to be royal priests. Okay, a kingdom of royal priests. Hence Melchizedek, all right, Malak Tazadok, king of righteousness, and what, he was the high priest of the Most High. He was a royal priest. Okay, and Yahweh Shai, that's the order he comes in, as what, they're royal priest. Okay, and that's the order that we're in now under this grace period. We're also rehearsing that that royal priesthood of Melchizedek, where the priesthood is open up to all tribes, all right, to the men of all tribes. You know, beginning with the first fruits are going to be what those kings and priests in the earth, man. You know, so Apostle Peter, why is he writing, okay, to Israelite foreigners? All right, if these are actual Gentiles, or why is he telling them things that was told to Israel, that was promised to Israel? Because those are the same people. Okay, and through Yahushua, all right, we was open back up to those promises, man. And see, that all goes back to being in the light to where we can see it. We can see that now. We had no idea of this understanding, who we were, our purpose, our power, these promises from old that still pertain to now. Okay, we was in the dark, and see, now we've been awakened to life, man, because now we have a purpose beyond anything Esau, all right, can give us, man. Okay, a nigga find purpose in what Esau calls prosperity. Okay, we found purpose, okay, in true prosperity, which is in Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. Okay, we're kings and priests, man, not no athletes and rappers and entertainers or young niggas or street legends or bad bitches and bad. Nah, we a kingdom, okay, a royal people, man. Procure your treasure to our power, you know. And there's a standard that we ought to live by, and there's a faith that we ought to have coming into these times. Okay, it says, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, man. You know, so we've been called out of darkness into what? This marvelous light, man. You know, so we've been called out of the darkness of black culture, of Christianity, feminism, and, you know, all these different ideologies that had us in the dark. Okay, that had us groping, not knowing how to move, not knowing what to believe in, not knowing who we are, who our power is. We was in complete darkness, man. Okay, but Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah saw it fit, all right, in these times, okay, by the ministry of the prophets, beginning with Elder Abba Bivens, to start raising his people out of the dark, man, out of the dust. Okay, and it's a beautiful thing. You know, it's a beautiful thing what Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah had did in these times, man. So now you have a remnant that's walking in light. You know, it's plain. You know, it's we got clarity. We got spiritual clarity now. Okay, we know how to move. We know what to believe in. We know what to avoid. It's just another thing. We in the light. We can see danger clearly. We see what the devil is up to and what he's on, man. Okay, we see the way 2/3 are going and how they're moving, how it's going to end for them. You see, so now we have spiritual clarity to win. You see, and it says, verse 10, just to prove that these are Israelites. It says, which in time past was not a people. Okay, because this was when, you know, our people was considering themselves Greeks and, you know, Gentiles, and, you know, but that's a no people to the Most High. All right, the Most High doesn't reverence Greeks. Okay, or these heathens, just like he doesn't reverence American and Jamaican, and, you know, Trinidad, and Puerto Rico. No, the Lord reverences his tribes. Okay, the tribes, man. And this is what we've been awakened to. We've been enlightened to who we are. Okay, so now we're not a no people anymore. It says, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of the Most High, which had now attained mercy. All right, which had not attained mercy, but now have attained mercy. Okay, so now us coming into the light, that's the Lord showing mercy. This is the mercy. You gotta understand, you know, as we speak about the mercy in the times to come, we're receiving mercy now, just to be brought into the light. You know, because that gives us the chance to be pleasing to our power. Because if we weren't in the light, we wouldn't even know how to be pleasing to our power. Okay, it don't matter how many good deeds you was doing, how many turkeys you passed out, how many bikes you gave away, all right, in the neighborhood. Okay, how many times you was stepdad of the year. Okay, that shit don't register when it comes to true righteousness to Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai, man. Okay, we were doing these things in the dark. We doing these things in ignorance, man. We know. Even if we thought we was doing good, we was off, man. Okay? So that's mercy just for the Lord to bring us into the light so we can be pleasing to our power, man. You know? And it's all making us meet for a kingdom, you know? And I'm going to get this. All right? So I can get out of here, man. I'm going to have This is the book of Colossians chapter 1. All right. In verse 12 it says, giving thanks unto the Father which have made us meet to be partakers of the heritage. Matter of fact, yeah, this is Colossians 1 and 12 again. It says, giving thanks unto the Father which have made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light. You know, to even understand what our inheritance is, we had to be brought to the light. You know, we had to be brought forth. You see? You know, the fact to understand the promises and inheritance, we had to be brought to the light first, man. Okay? Verse 13, who have delivered us from the power of darkness and have translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son. You know, because even before we're actually translated into the kingdom, it begins with the way we're thinking. Our thinking, all right, has been translated into the kingdom. Okay, hence what kingdom minded. Okay, so our thinking goes from the darkness of this world to now we have an expectation within our inheritance in the kingdom. You know, so the translation from this world to the kingdom begins in our mind. Then it's going to be a physical deliverance, man. You know, so we've been brought into the light, all right, and as we've been brought into the light, now we're transitioning into the kingdom to come. That's why our expectation is all in the kingdom to come now. Our expectation in this world dies. Okay, who we were in the dark, that old man is constantly dying, and the new man is born in the light in Yahushua in the kingdom to come. You know, so that's the point. Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushua, by Hashem, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great example towards younger brothers, and peace and blessing, salutation, hopefully, shalom.